Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Senseless. So this was pretty much a first time watch for me. This was the first time that I saw the entire movie, beginning to end. I did see bits and pieces of this movie. When I was a kid, I just caught it on TV, and I definitely remember some of the stuff with Matthew Lillard's character and some piercings in in some questionable areas. So yeah, I did see a little bit of this movie, but like I said, this is pretty much a first time watch. This is pretty much my first time watching the movie, all the way through, and just getting into my overall thoughts. I thought this was a solid movie. I had a good time with it. I liked the story. It was a good underdog story. The comedy was decent. There were quite a few like extremely funny scenes and sequences and gags, and some of the comedy was like a little too goofy and fell flat. But for the most part, the comedy was on point. The story was on point. There was a lot of familiar faces, and everyone involved did a pretty darn good job, in my opinion. So now that I've given you all my overall thoughts, I'm going to jump into a little plot summary here. So the main character is played by Marlon Wayans. His name's Daryl. He's a college student, and he comes from a kind of like poorer household. He has like a bunch of siblings. He lives in like a single parent household. He doesn't have a lot of money. He doesn't, you know, it's not like his college is paid for. He has to work like 4 jobs just to pay his tuition. Plus he has to like send money home to help support his family. So, he's a college student. He's a smart kid, but he's, struggling financially. So he has to balance all this stuff, all this work stuff and, school stuff, extracurriculars. He's trying to get into extracurriculars and stuff. So, yeah, and in addition to doing all these jobs, like I said, he's desperate for money. He needs money. He's got to pay rent. He's got to help out his mom. He starts doing various other things to get a little extra walking around money. So he he goes and like donates blood. That's a pretty fun sequence where you can only donate blood once, because they don't want you to like pass out or F around and kill yourself. But he goes in and he has like all these disguises and he plays all these different characters and he donates blood like 10 times, and he gets like continuously weaker and weaker. And then he's like donating sperm. He's like, they give him like all the magazines. He's like giving them all kinds of donations. He's like, how much do you get per donation? He does like 4 donations, and when it gets to the last donation, he's like, yeah, I need some freakier stuff. Like, if I'm gonna be able to, bust out this last donation, you gotta give me some hardcore stuff. So, he's doing the donating the blood, he's doing the donating the sperm to get some extra money, and then he stumbles into this experiment where, they're paying participants, and he falls asleep. He doesn't hear like all the terrible side effects, so he is the only participant that's going to participate in this study. So they give him like they offer him all the money. They're like, yeah, you'll get 3,000 if you do this. And he has to take this experimental drug that's supposed to heighten all his senses, and he doesn't do it. Like this later in the movie, the drug heightens his senses and starts to help him, but he doesn't do it for that purpose. He just does it because he needs the money. He's desperate. So yeah, he does this trial. He gets this experimental drug, and he, I forgot to mention this, but like yeah, in addition to just trying to pass his classes and support his family, um, Daryl is also trying to compete for this job. It's like this super competitive job, and they select 5 participants to like who are just like qualifiers for it, and only one is selected for the job. So he's trying to get this job. He'll get like $60,000 starting out. It's a really, it's a good paying job, and if he gets this job, he can help his family. So um, he's trying to pursue that, and to do that, he has to do all these extracurriculars, and he's got to do this entire competition, kind of woo all these people, show his stuff. So once he gets this drug, he starts, you know, it's like very hard at first because he has like sensory overload, but then he kind of realizes how to turn it on and off, and he uses this drug to his advantage in the competition. So that is the basic plot summary, and I kind of mentioned some of the cast, or maybe just Marlon Wayans, but now that I've given you all a little plot summary, I just want to mention some of like the noteworthy cast members, because there was a lot of familiar faces and actors that I liked in this. So of course you got Marlon Wayans as the main character. You got Matthew Lillard as his best friend Tim. David Spade is like the main antagonist. He's this kind of like rich kid. He doesn't really have to like work for anything, and he's kind of like the shoe-in for this job that Marlon Wayans' character wants to get. You got Brad Dourif. Chucky himself is the scientist who's kind of conducting the experiment. You got Rip Torn. He's the guy who I don't know if he owns the company, but he might just be an executive. But he's the guy who basically all the participants have to impress to get the job. He has like a high standing at the company. And then you got Orlando Brown was in there for a little bit from That's So Raven. Like, because when Daryl goes back to see all his family and his siblings and stuff, one of the little kids, one of his little brothers, is Orlando Brown from That's So Raven. So I was like, that was cool to see him. I used to like That's So Raven, but it's kind of sad. Like Orlando Brown is just like straight up like crazy these days. Like hopefully he's all good. I don't know what the heck's going on with him, but it was kind of fun to see him. Now getting into the meat and potatoes of the review. Something that I really liked was the friendship between Marlon Wayans' character Daryl and Matthew Lillard's character Tim. They were just like really good buddies, and Tim really he really like believed in Daryl. He was always trying to motivate him. He was always being positive, giving him encouragement, and he was just like a real one. Like he would just tell him how it is. He's like at one point Daryl tries out for the hockey team because he needs a sport for this for this competition to get this job. Like that's one of the extracurriculars he needs. So he tries out for the hockey team, and Matthew Lillard's character Tim, he's just like, I've been meaning to tell you about this, but you just straight up sucked, man. Like that's how friends have to be. Like you got to be real with your friends. You got to encourage your friends, believe in them. Like you could tell he like genuinely believed in Daryl. So I really liked their friendship. It was just a beautiful friendship, and I was all about it. So I had to mention that. And moving on to just like, moving on with like positive character traits, I really liked just Daryl himself. He was just like a good guy. Like he had like all his motives were good. It wasn't like even if it was just like a selfish pursuit to get this job, not that it necessarily is selfish to like want to do well for yourself, like it wasn't a selfish pursuit. He wanted to get this job so he can help his family. You know, his goal was to like help the people he loves. And you know, even though he did technically cheat to, you know, get his foot in the door in this competition, I mean, he really put in the work. He went hard, he studied, and he didn't intend to cheat. He didn't take this drug because he wanted to get a competitive edge. He just took it because he wanted the money, like plain and simple. So, you know, I think at the end of the, like, you know, of course, you know, Daryl made some mistakes, but at the end of the day, I thought he was a good dude, and he was like a great protagonist to follow. He was just a likable dude, and that's something that I wanted to get into as well. Like this movie is just like a nice, like heartwarming underdog story. You can't go wrong with a good underdog story, and David Spade character was like a perfect contrast to Marlon Wayans' character, because you know there's absolutely nothing wrong with, you know, having parents who have a lot of money and having a lot of opportunities, but David Spade's character was just an a-hole. He was just nasty, and you know, it's cool to have parents who are wealthy and want to help you out, but he didn't want to do any work. He just thought, oh, well, I just have wealthy parents, I can just rest on that. I don't have to put any work in or try, and I can just be mean to everyone, and I'm better than everyone. So like Daryl was just this wholesome, honest guy, and then David Spade's character was just like a perfect contrast. He was like a great antagonist. So I really liked that. It worked. It was, like I said, it was a great underdog story. What more can you say? It hit all the marks. I kind of talked about this earlier. I thought the comedy in this was decent. This wasn't the funniest movie ever, but there were a ton of funny moments. There's so many. I don't know if I'm like name all the funny. I mean, I'll give a couple shout outs of funny stuff. I mean, when he's going to the sperm bank, all that is super funny. Later on, he goes with one of those giant water jugs that you would get at like some like big box store. Like they would have it like in like a workplace where it's just like a giant water jug that you could put on like a water dispensing machine. And he's like trying to fill that up at the sperm bank. So all that stuff was funny. All the stuff with Matthew Lillard and the piercings was funny. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. All this stuff revolving around, you know, Daryl's like sensory overload and just his heightened senses was funny. Like he's hyper focusing on, you know, girls like butts on the street and checking them out, and he's getting with this one girl, and he just his sense of, you know, touch and feeling is like heightened. So he just like prematurely finishes, and they didn't even start, you know, getting intimate like that. They were just kissing, and he just straight up busted. So there was so many funny moments. And something that I wanted to, like, another shout out that I wanted to give, I thought Marlon Wayans, like, his physical comedy was really good. I thought it was very like Jim Carrey-esque, you know, where there were so many instances where, you know, he's off this drug, and like later in the movie he takes too much of the drug, and he has like all these like adverse side effects, and he loses his sense of feel, and he's got like his tongue sticking out and his arms go limp, and he was just really good with the physical comedy. He was just really animated, and you know, that's like a skill to pull that off. There was so many other instances of the physical comedy. I don't want this video to be 3 hours long, but I just wanted to mention that and give him a little shout out, because that physical comedy stuff is not easy to do, and I thought that was really entertaining, and he did really well with that, so had to give him a little shout out. And getting back into Matthew Lillard's character with the piercings, this is the last thing I want to talk about, but that's like part of the reason why I chose to watch this movie is because I was at work, and I was just talking to my coworker. I think we were just randomly talking about movies, and I think we were talking about like Scary Movie 2, and I was like, "Yo, wasn't that the best when Beetlejuice from the Howard Stern show like popped out of like Shorty's head, and he's like, 'This is your brains on drugs,' and she's like, 'Who the heck is Beetlejuice?' I'm like, 'What?' Wait, no, I think before the reason we got to talking about Scary Movie 2 is because I was talking about like there's like a Beetlejuice clip on YouTube where he's like smoking a cig, and he's like, they're like, 'Beetlejuice, you smoke?' And he's like, 'No, I don't smoke. I don't smoke.' They're like, 'Do you smoke, man?' He's like, 'Yeah, I smoke once in a while. Once in a blue moon I does it.' And then they're like, 'You smoke?' He's like, 'No, I don't smoke, man. I don't smoke.' Because my coworker smokes, and I think I don't know, I just randomly started talking about that Beetlejuice clip. I'm like, she's like, 'Do you smoke?' I'm like, 'Yeah, once in a blue moon I does it.' 'No, I don't smoke.' And then I had to like explain the reference because she didn't know who Beetlejuice was. But then we got to talking, and we started talking about Scary Movie 2 and Marlon Wayans, and I'm like, 'Hey, I just saw that Senseless movie pop up on Tubi. Is that any good?' And she's like, 'Yo, that movie slaps. Like, that's a hilarious movie. You gotta watch that.' You know, and then she's like, 'There's this one instance with Marlon Wayans' roommate where he gets a piercing in a certain area,' and she's like, 'It's absolutely hilarious.' Like, she didn't explicitly tell me because we were at work, but I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. We got a piercing in a crazy area. I gotta watch this. So yeah, that's like the reason I watched this, is because the main thing that was enticing me was, a piercing in the private region. I just wanted to see it for that scene. Mainly, like, that's what drew me in. And I got the social proof from my coworker, so I'm like, I gotta check it out. But I think I saw the downstairs piercing. That's what I keep calling it, the downstairs piercing scene. I feel like I saw that back in the day when I did like watch part of this on TV, but I just didn't remember it. But anyways, I just talked forever about like some nonsense BS reason why I thought he was getting his member pierced, and my coworker told me, and that's the reason why I wanted to see this movie. But anyways, that's one of like the funniest scenes of this movie. So Matthew Lillard's character, he's just like super into piercings, and he's talking about like pain and pleasure, and he's just one of those guys, he always goes through phases. So he's in this piercing phase, and he gets a piercing like up his urethra, and I think he has like a chain connected to his sack, and I just like, I thought that was the funniest thing ever. That was like the craziest thing ever. Like, I feel like if people know about this movie, that's one of the most memorable parts of this movie. It's just it's awesome. It's just absolutely, it's the funniest concept. Like, man, like I cringe at that idea, but it's just funny. I don't know, like, it's awesome. Like, through up the thing, man, like, that's hardcore. Like, I mean, he's about that life if he's gonna do that. Like, that dude is tough. I mean, he's a hockey player. Hockey players are tough in general, but this dude is like next level. If you're gonna get the piercing up the thing and on the sackage, man, that's dedication. That's dedication to the craft right there. But I'm going out with a bang with this review. I had to save that part for last. So other than that, I don't really have anything else to talk about. I'm going to get into my recommendation here. So like I said, I thought this was a super solid movie, great underdog story. a lot of good comedy, a lot of actors that I like. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. You know, if you haven't seen it, go out and watch it. But with that being said, I'm gonna wrap things up here. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.